To thank you for coming, the members of the Fourth Estate. We were here to launch the harnessing of education research for impact. As you very well know, research is a very important and critical aspect of our education system. And what we are trying to do as a government is to ensure that research is mainstreamed so that the decisions that are made in terms of policies are actually underpinned by data and evidence arising out of the research that has been undertaken by our institutions. So this is a group of a number of our partners who have come together and collaborated, and they've raised resources in order to be able to advance research in education, especially in the areas of language, which is the chair for Kisii University. Mathematics will be the chair for MB University, and Kenyatta University will also have community and social sciences. So we are starting with 3 chairs across the country, but they are going to be increased to 5 chairs. The output for research from the African continent in terms of those researchers that are African-led, and output is only at 3%, and this collaboration the next 20, 25 years up to 2050. So it is a coming together of like-minded partners to ensure that we mainstream research and we make decisions based on that research. As a government, you know that the government has established an independent research department domiciled at the Prime Cabinet Secretary's office, which is going to harness the whole of the researchers in the country so that we have a one-stop shop and we are able to collaborate and have a depository of all the research that is being undertaken in order for us to benefit from that research. Further, we are raising the resources, and you had His Excellency the President indicate that the research component that has been hitherto at 0.8% of GDP is now being raised to 2% of GDP. And that goes to show how important the sector is and how important research is being taken by government, because without research, we cannot progress beyond that knowledge that we get through that kind of research. So that's why we are here. It's a very, very important step, and we are very, very thankful to all our partners who contributed towards the initial amount that is, I think, of 100 million, that will continue to increase up to 2050 with a vision of raising that figure to $100 million. So thank you very much for coming. Something and policies need to be underpinned by research and evidence so that we make decisions that are aligned, that actually speak to what is required in the ground. That's why this is critical for us.
Actually, what I wanted to know from your ministry, how have you been absorbing research output in this?
Based on research. That's why we are saying we need to increase it to be even more impactful, so that we do not make decisions that are not aligned either with the research or the output that we got from the ground. We've just finished the transition from grade 9 to grade 10. In this selection, a number of students never chose certain schools. So there are certain schools perhaps that do not have students. So we make a decision based on that data on what should we do with those schools. So this is what I'm talking about and saying every decision that we are going to be making will be based on the evidence that we get from the ground through this research. Asante, Mungu abariki. Asante.
Era karibu.
First, for the very good speech you gave. You know, for sometimes people used to think that county commissioners are policemen. He has given a speech equal to those of a professor. Very well done. The chair of of Council, Kisii University and other chairs present and your council members, the Vice Chancellor, Kisii University and other Vice Chancellors present here, the CUE, CEO, KICD, and each and every one of us here, colleagues, good afternoon. Good afternoon again. I have a speech, but I'm wondering whether I should read it or I should just speak. I tried that in Nero the other day, and I was trying to get a degree through recognition of prior learning. I was quickly disabused of that notion. So I'm not going to try it. But let me start by first and foremost thanking all of you for being here today. Research is such a critical component of our education. And I'll tell you a story in response to the challenge that was presented here by the good doctor who also challenged me in Embu that we need to increase the amount of research amounts. And I think we have done. We have now moved from the 0.8% to 2%. But we'll expect something from you. And that is something called the return on investment. We must get that, otherwise we'll go right back to where we were. But having said that, immediately I was appointed to this position, I encountered strikes in this sector, beginning from NAT, to PET, then WASU, and then KUSU, and then KUDEA, etc., etc. And I had a long discussion with the officials. I said, why do you always have to go on strike on your CPAs? And Professor Mgendi is here. I said, you know our money, we must get our money, our allowances, our mortgage, the annual increments, etc., etc. So we agreed we will try and resolve this issue. But can we, next time we are going on strike, go on strike on the issues relating, for example, to research? So we are not being given enough time to research. We want to go on strike to be allowed to research. So that we can move from those basics to where the universities need to be. And I think you raise an important point. We have resolved those. I think it is time, as a sector, we now need to move to our role. You know, I challenged the VCs here, the chairs. We are the universities. We are the Ministry of Education. Yani sisi ndio wasomi. Yeah? We do courses, we do programs. They are supposed to be based on research and evidence. They are not supposed to be guesswork. For example, we have just finished a verification exercise in the basic education. We have discovered that we have a total of about 11 million learners from grade 1 all the way to Form 4. Grade 1 to 9, grade 10, and then Form 3 and 4 we don't have Form 2. We have how many? 11 million. The international standard, what should be the ratio of teacher to student? Should it be 1 to 30? Right? 1 to 30. So if you do the math, how many teachers should we be having in this country? Essential maths. We should be about 360, call it 400,000. Correct? So why are we designing courses as universities where we are admitting 100,000 students every year to do education? On what basis are we doing that? When the requirement perhaps is 35,000 teachers per year. So the decisions we make, the programs we come up with, needs to be informed by data. Because then we'll be creating a situation where we have unemployment. We have students who cannot get jobs, or people who are graduated who cannot get. That's how important data is. We have done transmission from grade 9 to grade 10. The government policy is children or learners select their schools, correct? So you have four categories. Learners choose category 1, 3 schools, category 2, 3 schools, category 3, 3 schools, category 4, 3 schools, a total of 12 schools. Suppose your school has not even had one person selecting it. Where do we get students to give you? Then you accuse me of saying this placement system is killing our schools. It's not true, because the data is showing there is something that data needs to tell us. So now we need to assess, are these schools supposed to be maintained, or where you have five students choosing, or 10 or something. So this data needs to help us make decisions on where do we take the resources. What kind of resources should we have in certain schools? Data is important, evidence is important, research is important. Decisions must be based on, and we'll be able to resolve a lot of our problems. That's why this is so important, and that's why, as a government, we're taking it very, very seriously, that we will support research. And that's why the government has actually come up with an independent state department of research, domiciled in the PCS's office. Initially, and I think the professor at the PS will be here this afternoon, initially it was domiciled in the Ministry of Education. But when we did the analysis, we realized we are going to have silo fights where people will say, I'm in the Ministry of Health, I'm doing research on Cambridge, why is it being domiciled in the Ministry of Education? So we took it independent so that we can now have the benefits of all the research that we are doing in the country. That shows the commitment that the government has with respect to this issue of research, and we'll support you. And the government has indicated we are moving from the 0.8 to 2%. Not in talk. As of 2 or 3 days ago, money is being allocated to raise that figure to 2%. It's already coming. So it's not just sio kuongea tu, lakini ni kitu ambacho tunafanya. So research is important, and I just want to urge us as these institutions in the universities to take the lead, take our positions. And I like this particular council of Kisii University. When I came here the first time in January, I think 2025, and we had a meeting. One of the things they told me, I don't know whether you remember, was that we do not want to be remembered as a council that has only cleared the debts. There were a lot of debts here. So they were paying those debts. So we just don't want to be remembered as a council that came in, cleared debts, and left. We want to do something more. And what they are doing is what you are seeing here today. So congratulations and well done. And that also goes to show you how seriously government is taking governance in universities. We were to do a lot of changes here, and then we'll continue doing them until all our councils or our leadership in universities is functional. We do not want a lot of friction where there is more fight and more noise than productivity. So you are doing the right thing, you are moving in the right direction, and our partners, we thank you for the support that you are giving us. Having said that, so that I don't become the subject of memes, I need to do the speech so that I can get my per diem. I've never worked in government. This is my first job. So when I came to government, I was told the something is called per diem, and it's taken seriously by people in government. Otherwise you get into a lot of trouble. But having said that, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to be here at Kisii University for the launch of Very Africa. This is an important moment, not just for Kenya, but for the entire African continent. I think, for example, of a postgraduate student at Kisii University who explored how schools and communities can better support girls to remain in school. Our research identified practical ways to strengthen school rules, mentorship programs, and community support aligned with national education and child protection policies. If local authorities were to put these ideas into practice, more girls then would be able to continue their studies safely and confidently. The moment when research helps shape policies and programs that make a difference is exactly what Area Africa is designed to create. Area Africa exists to catalyze the transition from a research paper to a lived reality that transforms lives. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, higher education is at the center of Africa's development ambitions, and our universities are no longer just places of teaching. They are engines of knowledge, innovation, and solutions to everyday challenges. From mobile technology and smart agriculture to healthcare, to education and climate resilience, African university research is already changing lives. But to fully unlock this potential, research must be prioritized in policy, funding, and practice. Across Africa, higher education has expanded rapidly. Countries such as Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Ghana have widened access and increased student numbers. This growth is strengthened by regional and continental collaborations such as what is going on here. Bodies like the Inter-University Council for East Africa, the Association of African Universities, and the African Network for the Internationalization of Education promote student mobility, academic exchange, and joint research. Global partnerships also play a key role. The Association of Commonwealth Universities, UNESCO, and regional bodies support staff and student mobility, professional development, and research collaboration. Through these partnerships, African universities gain exposure, they gain skills and global visibility, while contributing African knowledge to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, while Africa has seen rapid expansion in higher education, as you've heard, it accounts for only 3% of global research output, far below what our talent, population, and potential would suggest. Initiatives like Area Africa are working to bridge this gap by fostering academic mobility and collaborative knowledge exchange. By setting an ambitious target to increase Africa's research contribution to 30% by 2050, Area Africa aims to ensure that the continent's immense talent and potential drive locally led solutions that command a rightful place on the global stage. Here in Kenya, higher education has grown remarkably. From a handful of universities decades ago, we now have 83 public and private universities serving over 700,000 students across the country. Our researchers have produced more than 7,000 research output papers in 2025 alone. However, research and innovation require sustained support. Kenya currently invests about 0.8% of GDP in research and development, which remains far below the continental and global targets. And that's why the government has increased this investment to 2% of GDP as stipulated by His Excellency the President of Kenya. Education in this country remains a government priority, accounting for over 30% of national expenditure. That is a total of 765 billion in the financial year 2026-2027. In 2025-2026, it was 702 billion. 150 billion of that is allocated to higher education and research in the last financial year. By addressing the 0.8% of GDP investment gap, and strengthening the capacity of universities to absorb and utilize these funds effectively, Kenya is committed to building a predictable long-term ecosystem where innovation is seamlessly integrated with teaching and community engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, funding alone is not enough. Research must also be treated as a core university mission and not an extra activity, which is what you are requesting for. As a government, let's confirm that we are committed to reforming the research and innovation system through reliable and predictable funding for long-term projects aligned to national and regional priorities, and steady increases in research and development investment to move closer to global standards and Africa's development agenda and needs. Area Africa is a critical partner in this evolution, aligning with Kenya's national education research agenda to ensure academic outputs move beyond the laboratory and into the hands of policymakers. It connects African universities, strengthens mentorship, and ensures research reaches policymakers, communities, and partners. Together, the National Education Research Agenda and HERI can create ecosystems where research drives real, measurable impact. You have to land the plane. One of the things that happen is, of course, the research is done, but it is left high up here, like Professor Kuria said. You need to come down and explain to us so that we can see what it is that we are getting from it. I once went to present the president in Ghana on the African Academy of Sciences conference, and the teams, you know, the researchers and the innovators, they know each other. They are talking about the same presentations that have been done the last 3-4 years. You know, we are with you in Canada, we're in that other one, we're in that other one. But practically on the ground, does it trickle down? Do we feel it? That percentage, that 1% only that reaches the ground, is it enough for us to be able to say we are putting our resources where it matters most, in view of the fact that we do not have enough resources? Ladies and gentlemen, education is the backbone of development, and research is its engine. When universities lead in research and innovation, they produce skilled graduates, generate homegrown solutions, and contribute directly to economic and social transformation. Let us build a continent where every classroom, every laboratory, and every university is a hub of solutions driven by African knowledge and shaping both Africa's present and the global future. As I conclude, let me congratulate all the partners for bringing this vision to life. Let us work together to ensure that research leads, policies change, and communities benefit across Kenya, across Africa, and globally. I thank you.